Alrighty.
Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain. That was a long break. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully this sounds okay. If either Hello Science Teacher or Skoback can give me a super fast sound check, we will get started on a brief Thursday evening stream. Actually, no, Skoback, I'm going to do this weird thing where you get like this little toy, it's like a cross between a toy and a model. Some people call it a miniature. And then you use this weird kind of stuff with colors in it called paint, and then you like paint the miniature. I guess it's a new thing for me. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but I'm gonna give it a try. I do apologize in advance because my webcam is not nearly as good as G's. So, speaking of webcam, let's go ahead and get my ancient ass webcam going here. Okay, first of all, hello everybody. Let me go ahead and maximize that so it is better for... How can I make that full screen? Oof, there we go, that's pretty big. Alright guys, so yeah, I'm going to fill in a little bit today for our Thursday night stream. I've missed a couple of Sundays, apologies for that. There were reasons, but to kind of, make up for it, I'm going to go ahead and cover a little bit of the stream tonight. I have been working on, if you follow us over on Tabletop, we have been working on a project for the 1991 Gulf War, and they don't really make a model kit for that, to my knowledge, at least for 15 or 10 millimeter miniatures. So what I've been doing is kind of doing the best I can with some common commercially available kits. And, being that I was actually in the Marine Corps, back when this war was going on, the Marines in 1991 Gulf War is kind of a thing for me. So I've been trying to build Ryan's Leathernecks from Team Yankee. Again, It's not the exact kind of tank that we're looking for, but it's close enough. I can start with this and then make some modifications and fix it up the rest of it later. So we're doing Ryan's Leathernecks from Team Yankee, and again, it's a close proxy. The Syrian T-54 Battalion for Fate of a Nation, also from Battlefront. So, let me go ahead and kind of get the camera. Ooh, that might be a little bit too bright there. Hold on a second. I tried to get some more light going here so that we could. Oh man, that's going to be terrible. Hold on. Do bear with me just a second, guys. Is that. Oh man, this webcam is terrible. Well, look at the bright side. You can't see how terrible my painting is. So, this is what I've got so far. Hopefully this doesn't look completely atrocious on your whatever device you're going on. I'm using a really old webcam on a really old computer, and not the best kind of a software for it. This is why I usually don't do hobby streams. But again, I'm also just kind of filling it for the day. So again, these are the M60s that you get in Ryan's Leathernecks. They're partially done. I've got it sprayed black for primer. Then I've gone ahead and done a airbrushed, zenithal airbrushed, a tan or sand color, obviously. Underneath that, I've kind of undersprayed a little bit of. Let me get under the camera there. I've sort of undersprayed a little bit underneath there to get like this brown. You can also see it on the bottom part of the engine deck, hopefully. So it looks like it's been driving through the mud a little bit. Done a little bit of the base color touch-up because the wash got kind of screwed up. I should say I put a wash on it. Vallejo wash, sienna. Not sienna, sepia. Because I want that weird kind of... that sounds like kind of a weird color to be painting or to be washing sand color tanks in or desert tanks in. But what happens, especially on tanks, is you get this weird mix of like sand and oil and grime and everything else like that. So it's like blackish brown. So I just went with sepia, really thinned it out. I don't know. Maybe you guys have some tips for us. I always have a real pain in the ass time of trying to trying to put washes on any kind of desert vehicle. I do fine with any kind of woodland vehicle, jungle camouflage, any other kind of anything that's a little bit darker, but anything that's supposed to be Arctic or desert, I have a really hard time with. It always goes on to look terribly sloppy. So again, we have some M60A1s for the Marines. We are going to be touching those up later with some, after all the detail painting. These aren't finished painting yet, obviously. After that, I'm going to be putting some of the ERA reactive armor panels on here that we see in some of our history. So this is going to look actually a lot different. How I'm going to do that, I'm not 100% sure yet. I think I'm just going to design the enhanced armor panels in Photoshop, print them out in several sizes, and then mount them on cardstock and mount them on the tank via cardstock, and then paint the edges like the same sandy color. I think with a little bit of work in Photoshop, I've pulled off some pretty neat miniature trickery in Photoshop. You'd be surprised what you can do in miniatures with Photoshop. And I'll get into more of that later. I'm going to try to do it again here with these, with the reactive armor panels. Let me go ahead and pull that image back up again. Yeah, okay, so this is what the tank is supposed to look like when it's done. So obviously the tank itself is painted. I've got the black tracks painted. I've got the black tires around all the actual the wheels. That was a nice pain in the ass, kind of a part of the job there. I got all that done, and I'm going to put the rest of the markings on there and so on and so forth, do the detail painting, the periscopes, the crewmen, so on and so forth. It's pretty basic. There's not a lot of camouflage striping or anything else like that. Visually speaking, the 1991 Gulf War was pretty boring. A lot of sand for both sides. I'm going to make my Iraqis a little darker, perhaps unrealistically or inaccurately so, but just so that my two armies at least look a little different on the tabletop. But what I'm talking about is I'm going to actually design these panels. Like that's going to be a piece, that's going to be a piece, that's going to be a piece, that's going to be a piece. Each tank, likely there's only 3 of them in the kit. Each tank is going to have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least maybe 10 or 11 pieces to it. It's going to be put in Photoshop, complete with these little locking bolts and a little bit of a shadow underneath the locking bolt. And then it's going to be printed in Photoshop in different color temperatures and different sizes. Print them out on a nice laser printer. It's going to be super small. That way I have a couple of, sizes that one of them will hopefully be at least close to what I'm looking for. Paste that whole sheet on cardstock or very thin cardboard, and then go in there with the X-Acto knife and very, very carefully cut out like 30 pieces of this stuff. Not each individual brick, but again, like that will all be one piece. That will all be one piece. Hopefully you guys are seeing the little cursor on my screen here. That will be one piece. The glacis plate will be a piece. The mantlet on top of the gun turret, on top of the gun barrel on the turret will be a piece, and so on. That's going to be enough. And I think at 15 mil, I think I can get away with it. This webcam doesn't look too bad until I expand it to the whole screen. I'm looking at this on a 30-inch monitor, and it looks atrocious. So hopefully for you guys, it doesn't look quite this bad. Any word on when version 2 of Team Yankee is going to hit the market? You know what? I had a hell of a time finding Ryan's Leathernecks. I was at Historicon and couldn't find them. I don't know what's going on with some of these releases. Some of these releases are like really silly hard to find. So Ryan's Leathernecks comes with 3 of these M1s. Again, I'm going to change these so they don't look like this when they're done. But these are the ones you get. These are the 1980s M60A1s. Of course, in Team Yankee, you paint them up in the usual 4-color, West Germany camouflage. Why, I don't know. Marines are not supposed to fight in West Germany, but hey, whatever. That's not what I'm using it for. I got another one. I got another one here. All right, so cool. So I got my 3 M60s pretty much started. The wash went down okay, sort of. I had to do a lot of repair work. Again, I have a very tough time with whatchamacallits. Another thing that the kit gives you is 6 Humvees. These are the old school 1990s Humvees. So again, primed them in black, then went back and dark wash. I'm sorry, airbrush on my Badger Renegade airbrush with Vallejo tan sand, I should say. I dropped a little bit of yellow in there. The important thing that I find is when I'm doing anything with desert colors, always aim for at least a couple of shades lighter than you want to land at. So these were almost like Christmas vehicles. These were almost like jet white. It looked like yellowish white, almost like a bone white. Because then you slap a wash on it, and the wash really takes it down. Guys, you guys have probably noticed this yourself. When you're trying to make a wash on any kind of a light-skinned vehicle, I know I have a hell of a time with it. I don't know if you guys do or not. I use all the tricks, and they never seem to work for me. I got this one to work for me, but it was a pain. So again, went back with the airbrush with a dark brown and kind of very carefully put a little bit of a dirt and grime on the bottom of the vehicle, especially on the back, so it looks like it's been driving through some, through some nasty terrain or whatever. Then did some fixes, put an overall wash of very, 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 very thin Vallejo sepia. Then went back and pin washed around the doors and some of the more serious panels. That grill, I think, came out looking pretty good with the dark wash. The grill was actually really well done, and the little ventilation slats in the hood came out pretty good in the dark wash. I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use some of my interferon blue on the not the dashboard, I'm sorry, on the windshield and some other things. They give you a crap load of options for these Humvees. Again, 6 of them come in the case. They let you do them either in the tow missile, the 50 cal, or the Mark 19. So I went ahead and did most of them in my 50 cal. So there's my boy with the Maw Deuce, ready to wear out some Iraqis. Again, I did like 4 of them like that. And then I did one with the Mark 19. That's a belt-fed 40 millimeter automatic grenade launcher, 40 millimeter HE frag at about 300 rounds a minute. Effective range something like 300 meters, depending on what you call effective range. Biggest weapon I was ever allowed to fire, by the way, was a Mark 19. Never did get to fire the Maw Deuce. I'm going to go to my grave regretting that. One thing I did not ever get to do in the Marine Corps was never get to fire a Maw Deuce. Saw, M249 Saw, M60E3, the Marine Corps version of the new M60 with the pistol grip on the front handguard, and of course the Mark 19, but never M203 under barrel grenade launcher, all that good stuff. Just never got to fire a Maw Deuce. Anyway, did also not get to fire a tow missile. So I have the tow version of the Humvee here. So those are the choices they pick. They give you enough where you can do them all 6 of them any way you want. So I got plenty of extra pieces now for different support weapons, which I might use for other projects. Then what I've also bought in a separate kit, this does not come in the Ryan's Leatherneck kit, is a platoon of LAVs. These are the LAV-25s, and everyone from Canada is going to start groaning and complaining now. Because apparently these things were also supplied to the Canadian Army under a different name. And the Marines love them, or at least the Marines I've ever talked to love them. But everyone who's ever served with them in the Canadian Army absolutely hated these things. I don't know what the difference is, or if Marines are just used to crappy equipment, or what. These are kind of a mixed bag as far as how the kit came out. I had, again, they give you tons of options. So I did most of them with a straight out 25 millimeter autocannon. You know, no mess, no frills there. Looks like an M240 on the roof by the commander's hatch. No big deal. A whole bunch of periscopes. The ventilation grills look great. You know, the tires look great. Again, the same basic idea. I did the whole army the same way. Prime it black, zenithal base coat with Vallejo sand with an airbrush, and then another back brush with another back coat with the airbrush with this brown underneath, and then a wash, a touch up on the wash, and then pin wash with black, not with sepia on some of the more pronounced features like these engine grates, and then some touch up because this wash did not go down nearly as well as I was hoping. It's obviously a little shiny yet, but of course when I'm all done, I'm going to go ahead and slap some matte varnish on there. Kodiak, is that what they call it up there in Canada? The Kodiak, the Grizzly, there's a couple versions from what I hear. I think the Grizzly might be something else. But whatever the Canadian version is, from what I hear, they do not like this thing. If I'm thinking of the same vehicle. I might be thinking of the 4-wheeled version, not the 8-wheeled version. But in general, these vehicles do not get good press up in Canada. I don't know why. I'm not doubting them. I just, I don't know what the deal is. All right, so like I said, I did a bunch of them like that with the 25s. They give you an option for the mortar. So I went ahead and did one with a mortar. It comes with 2 crewmen, open compartment. There's not a whole lot of detail inside there. In fact, you can literally see the inside of well, you probably can't on this crappy webcam, but you can see straight down into the vehicle. But it's 15 mil, it's fine. By the time I get done painting the crewmen, it's all going to be fine. And then the ITV version, the improved tow missile version. Interestingly, this ITV mount, it comes on the same sprue as that version of the I think it's the M901, M113 improved tow vehicle for anti-tank guided weapons. So when I first opened the box, I got a whole bunch of spare parts for M113s. And I thought, holy crap, I get M113s in this kit too? I mean, turns out I didn't, but they just didn't want to make a new sprue just for that piece. So, hey, you get if you buy this kit, you get some extra stuff for your bits box. Alright, so that's my Marines so far. I also have a box of infantry I haven't put together yet. And that's going to be my Marine Force. Notice the Marines use the old M60 A1s. Again, with the reactive armor panels that I don't have put on here yet. They do not have the M1s, at least not in 1991. They would have the M1 A2s for the second Gulf War in 2003 and forward, but they did not have it in they did not have it in 1993. The Maw Deuce, is that correct in spelling? I actually don't know how you spell Maw Deuce. It's like one of those words that doesn't have letters to it. Um, I think, it's the M2 heavy machine gun. Okay, I got to give my Marines something to shoot at. So again, I bought that Syrian T-54 battalion, and I've been building the crap out of Soviet T-54s. How many T-54s do I have? They're not all fitting on the webcam. There's a million of them. No, but seriously, the kit comes with 9 T-54s. I built them in 3 different variants. Here's an example of the first one. This is what I'm going to be painting a little bit tonight. Straight out, standard, hooray for the bad guys, T-54. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. What the hell? What? Holy crap. Alright, it's the same one. Okay, so T-54s. Um, I went ahead and put side skirts on all of them. I didn't really mean to do that. I might take some of these side skirts off. Photographic record shows some T-54s in the Gulf War, T-55, T-54s had these very distinctive skirts on them, and some of them didn't. In fact, most of them probably didn't. So my original intention was to do 3 of them with and 3 of them without, so I had like a mix. But I went ahead and put them on all of them. I'm not sure exactly how I screwed that up, but it's okay. I'll probably just cut it loose, and I have to repaint these guys a little bit anyway. These guys just have primer and base color. They didn't even get the airbrush. I just got a rattle can of Walmart tan and slapped it on there. I'm not really too worried about these guys. Because, I mean, nothing against the Iraqis as a fighting force, except everything. But in all seriousness, from a miniature perspective, there are a ton of them. And I'm not going to put, honestly, full disclosure, I'm not going to put the same amount of care into the T-55s and T-54s as I do into my M60s. Because again, I have 3 M60s and 9 T-54s. Oh, and by the way, I've got other vehicles after that, and I've got another platoon of 5 BTR-60s on the way. I'm going to be building Iraqi vehicles till Christmas, literally. But anyway, T-55, I should say T-54. I may take the skirt off of some of them, so I have a mix of some with the skirts, some without. Of course, the kit gives you the option of both. The kit gives you the option of either the older school Dushk or the more modern NSV. They're both 12.7 millimeter 50 caliber machine guns, but you get it's just a more modern version that you get. If you are building, that kit comes with the T-55AM. That's the Warsaw Pact upgrades. For some reason, Team Yankee decides to give them to the East Germans. Okay, I would either give them to the Poles or the Czechs. Most German units were by then using the T-72s, but Team Yankee gives T-72s to the Russians, who were in fact using T-64s and T-80s in most of their Category 1 divisions. So, again, it depends on, what version of the war that never happened you decide to read. Again, it's all fiction, so it doesn't matter. But this war did happen, damn it. So I'm trying to build these guys at least a little bit realistically. T-54s, again, some with the skirts. I'm going to take the skirts off of some of them. You can tell it's a T-54 very, very easily, as opposed to a T-55. T-54 has a much more of a teardrop-shaped turret. T-55 turret is almost perfectly round. So the wheels and the suspension is largely similar. About the only real difference on the suspension is this gap you see between the first and second road wheel on a T-55 is still there, but it's much less pronounced. T-54, this gap is much bigger. This is a T-54 is what we're looking at here. Again, with the T-54 teardrop-shaped hull. And again, with the old Dushk, fuel barrels on the back, the whole 9 yards. Standard Soviet stuff. What's kind of weird is that a lot of the T-54s and T-55s that the Marine Corps and Army and other coalition forces came up against in 91 Desert Storm were not in fact T-54s and T-55s. They were Chinese Type 59s. So they did not send me a kit for a T-55. I had to take a T-54 and kit bash the shit out of it. So this is not a kit. This is not me endorsing or bashing anything made by Battlefront. This is a T-54 after it's been through Oriskany's Frankenstein workshop. So a T-59, a Type 59, actually a Type 59-2, is an upgrade of a Chinese knockoff. So the Chinese had a knockoff of the T-54 they called the Type 59. It looks pretty much like just like a regular T-54, except it wouldn't have these skirts on it. The same D10 100 millimeter gun with the muzzle brake with a little fume extractor, very, very far forward. It almost looks like a muzzle brake. That's one thing that you can instantly tell between a T-54, 55, and any subsequent Soviet-style tank. This little fume extractor starts going back in the barrel. On a T-62, it's like two-thirds the way up. On a T-72, it's way in the back. And then the T-80, I don't even know where it is. There's like all hidden up by a thermal sleeve. So, the further back the fume extractor is on the barrel, the more modern the tank. Don't ask me why that works, but it kind of works. We'll notice that this gun here is very different. That's because the Type 69 starts off, or the Type 59-2 is a Chinese Type 59, again, a straight out copy knockoff of the T-54, but the Type 2 Type 59 is an upgrade to that knockoff. So it's all over the place. And there's a laser rangefinder on it. There's smoke projectors on both sides. I'm not sure about the smoke projectors, but I put them on there just to make the tanks look a little bit more different. You'll notice I have an L7 rifle on here. This is actually accurate. The L7 105mm, or the Americans call it the M68 tank gun that you see on the M60s and the very first edition M1s. This is the standard NATO battle tank that's on the Centurions and the IDF, the M60s and M48s in the IDF. This is the standard NATO tank gun through the 60s and 70s and early 80s. The Chinese somehow got a bunch of these, or they ripped them off, or I don't know how they got them, or if the Iraqis got them. And what they basically did is they retrofit those guns into a T-54. By the way, the Israelis did the same thing with what they call the Tehran 5. I think it's the Tehran 5. It might be the Tehran 3. They basically captured an absolute assload of T-55s in the Six-Day War, and they put a bunch of British L7 rifles on them, and they turned them into Israeli tanks. The Type 59 and also the Type 69 are T-55 upgraded knockoffs. I have to get that all right. It also has a little bit of a laser sight up on the top. So there's all kinds of stuff on this thing. It's basically someone trying to make the most of a T-55 by way of a Chinese knockoff. So yeah, this poor tank is the Iron Chef with ramen noodles. I mean, they did the best they could with some really crappy ingredients. The last thing that kit comes with is two Shilkas. Gianna's favorite. I'm fully convinced that when Gianna has nightmares, she's dreaming about these things. They are dedicated helicopter killers. That's literally their only job. Supposedly they can shoot down aircraft. I wouldn't really put too much of a thing on it, or too much faith in their ability to shoot down an aircraft. But I tell you what, they will rip a helicopter out of the sky, and all week and twice on Sundays. These things are helicopter killers. These are metal resin kits. I think they're out of the original Team Yankees series, as opposed to Fate of a Nation. So I'm not a fan of resin and metal. But I will say this: once I primed them and I put a base coat on them, they look great, and they have that metal resin weight to it. So I'm happy with that. The gun barrels, everyone knows how hard it is to straighten out a gun barrel in metal and keep it straight. A Shilka has 4 of them, so good luck with all that. I had a hell of a time getting these things at least somewhat straight, but I finally took care of it. I'm probably going to have to magnetize these turrets so they don't fall off and break the radar dish off the back of it or whatever. But in any event, they're built. The only thing I'm not 100% keen on as far as these guys go is the scale. I don't know. What do you guys think? I have never seen a Shilka in real life, but I have seen an Iraqi T-55 in real life, folks, and I've climbed inside the turret. And I've been in all the crew spaces. It's a small tank. I don't think it's this small. A ZSU 23-4 is based on a PT-76 light amphibious tank chassis. The idea of these things being literally larger then a T-55 bugs the hell out of me. I don't know if that's accurate. I haven't gone and dug through a bunch of books and figured that out yet, but I think there might be a mismatch in the scale between these two kits. I think the T-55 is a little small. T-54, 55 is a little small. Could be wrong, but I doubt it. I've been wrong before. It's definitely smaller than my M60, which makes sense. I just don't know if it's supposed to be that much smaller. So if I try to get those front fenders immediately lined up, you can tell exactly how small the T-55 is compared to the M60. Now, of course, the M60 is a gigantically tall tank. That's one of its main problems. Back in the Army, they used to call back in the 80s used to call these things Godzillas. Especially with this Commander's cupola on top. This thing was freaking like 12 feet tall or something. That's not a good thing. Not a good thing. You want your tank to be much more like a Soviet tank, as low to the ground as possible. This is why we don't build mechs, people. This is why Battletech is fake and make-believe. The idea of a mech or a 40K style tank that looks like a cathedral on tracks is... This is why people don't like that stuff. That's not how military equipment works. The whole point is to get as low to the ground as possible. That thing is considered absurdly high, and it was laughed out of the Army back in the early 80s. And one of the first things the M1 did was cut that height down by about 80%, or down to about 80% at least. An M1 next to an M60 is a much shorter tank by design. You do not want your tank to be big, scary, and imposing. It will be the first thing killed. Alright, so let me catch up here on the chat. Battlefront T-55s are small. Yes, Skoback, I believe you are correct. I'm looking at them, and both are bigger than the Battlefront ones. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, I don't feel like I'm going crazy now. Yeah, those tanks definitely look too small for me here. Let me see what's going on. Novus Templar has joined us. Hello, sir. How you doing? Gun ranges will have a day now and then where you can select to fire various weapons from the military. Oh, okay, cool. $50 to buy your... Okay, cool. $5 per round. Yeah. Yep. I would imagine it would be at least $5 a round. Those are some big-ass bullets, too. I do have a 25mm... That's not even fitting on webcam here. A 25mm Bushmaster round. So... what this 25mm gun here fires at 1 to 100, a 50mm, that's it at 1 to 1. Obviously demilitarized, but yeah, that's it. Literally, I can't even get it to fit on camera here. What the hell? There we go. Yeah, this thing is huge. I'm gonna have to go ahead and zoom out the camera a little bit. Yeah, this thing is a monster. Up, went down way too low. Uh-oh. I seem to have lost my display here. Hold on a second, guys. Ugh, that's annoying. Hey guys, give me 1 second to try and fix this. I have a issue here with my display, it seems. Okay, why did that change? It's over on computer only. That was literally not what it was supposed to do. Alright guys, sorry about that. What chassis is the Shilka built on? You might have missed what we were talking about right before you logged on. A Soviet PT-76, a light amphibious tank. I've actually got some PT-76s for my NVA army. The Battle of Long Bay, 6 February 1968. I don't have them terribly handy at the moment, but let's see if I can do this without breaking my... There we go. Without breaking my thing here. Yeah, it's a light amphibious tank. It's not that small, but it's pretty small. It's light because it's barely armored. So I'm just thinning out some black paint here because I'm going to start working on some... Actually, guys, hold on just a second. I'm going to get some gray paint to kind of change the color on this. Again, I know the stream today is like super disorganized. We're just filling in here. Give me 1 second to get some gray paint. I'll be right back in 2 seconds. Oh, cool. Thank you. So, welcome back to another edition of Ghetto Hobby, or why Oriskany wants to shoot himself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm saying that because, you guys use all your fancy, like, Vallejo paints and whatever. I have, like, my craft store. Not quite apple barrel. I'm not that bad, but pretty bad. It's great. It's super inexpensive. It's super easy to clean up. It does work on this stuff, assuming you have it properly primed. You can get away with cheap paint if you have good priming, I find. Because, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. There's just no way I'm going to go ahead and spend money on these. I don't even know what you guys are talking about half the time. Citadel paints and this kind of paint and that kind of paint. I don't know if I'm a good enough painter to even justify that kind of thing. So the Shilka sometimes looks bigger than it really is because it does have a very large turret. It's got to hold the breaches and the loading and mechanisms for 4 automatic cannon and a very large radar array. And the Soviets don't build anything small as far as, miniaturization of equipment or anything. Oof. I got my grandpa glasses on here. So where is center? There we go. God, I feel like such a goober. Like I'm already making a mistake here. You guys are making me nervous. I am not a pro at painting, and I am not a pro at streaming. And the idea of painting while streaming is, this is why I don't normally do this. The other reason this is sort of, why Oriskany wants to shoot himself is this is like the one part of, I love painting tanks. The one part of tanks I really can't stand is the tracks. Because this part's easy. But sooner or later you got to get in behind all those wheels and paint all those teeth. And then you got to paint the teeth that go into the the links that go into the teeth of the drive sprocket and back. Whether or not I'm even going to try that trash on camera is a mystery for the ages. I got to keep at least some brain cells intact for our weekend game of HK Ops. Novus Templar can tell you about that. Novus Templar and Because Science Teacher, they're both on the stream. We got 2 of our HK Ops players on the stream. To my knowledge, if I'm missing anybody, I apologize. Apple barrel back in the old days. Yeah, I don't quite get that bad. Well, unless I'm doing terrain. Again, you want to see real Oriskany cheap, and yes, Oriskany is a cheap ass bastard. Um, you go to whenever I'm doing terrain, that's when I literally I don't go to the hobby store. I don't go to the craft store. I go to the hardware section at Walmart. And the paint that you see, like fishermen and duck hunters like paint their boats with, that's actually surprisingly good paint. But it literally comes in like three colors. Four: sand, green, brown, and black. I literally just painted a little bit of my laptop there. Guys, I did finally buy a new laptop, so everyone can just relax a little bit. I do have a new laptop. It is in the process of being onboarded. You guys have to understand, when I buy a new laptop, it's not like a minor thing. Oh god, I'm even aware on the camera I am. Sorry. There's a ton of software I've got to port over to it, and stuff that has to get installed, and new licenses I have to either call up somebody and have them, where I can download them on my computer because it's a serialized license, or it is a pain. Oop, I'm painting my laptop again. Like I said, not the most interesting part of the hobby, but it's a part that has to get done. It's got to be done right. And that's just getting in here and getting all these tracks. Again, I didn't hear that Gianna was or wasn't going to stream tonight. I saw 8 o'clock had rolled around. There's nothing streaming yet. I gave her a ping on Skype. Then I was like, you know what? She covered for me 2 weeks ago. And then 1 week ago, I had to cancel the Sunday stream at almost the last minute because of, some stuff that happened. So I still feel kind of bad about that. So I said, you know what? I was going to go ahead and start to paint these tracks anyway. Alright, so that's like the outside of the tracks done. Again, later on, when I can get under my real hobby light, again, the light here in my office is pretty bad. I'm going to go ahead and take another, oops. Let me try not to knock down my office again. And again, I do apologize. I know my webcam is not all that. One of the things about this new laptop, when I finally get it up and running, is God bless, dude, it is so hard trying to keep this thing in the middle of the screen here. Is I think it has a better webcam. I think it has like a 1080p webcam on it. I think this is just 720 here, and it's again not the best, and the light in here is not exactly wonderful. $3,500. I did not even come close to spending that much money. Less than 1,000. Because the stuff that I use a laptop for, I don't need that powerful of a system. I just need some pretty serious software. Full Adobe Creative Suite on the desk. That right there is about $2,500 just in software. Fortunately, I still have the discs because you can't even buy it now, even if you wanted to now. You have to go for their stupid subscription. I friggin' hate that. I know it's the way of the world nowadays, but I absolutely cannot stand that whole... Oh man, I can't stand that. I'll put away my soapbox for now, but the whole idea of digital rights media and not so much microtransactions, but subscription-based, cloud-based software just really drives me up the wall. I really hate that. Pretty ironic considering where I work for my day job, but or hypocritical, whatever you want to call it. But I do not. Oof. Because if I go for an Adobe subscription and I do about a couple of years of work in Adobe, and then Adobe goes out of business, decides to start selling pasta, you know, God knows what they do, and I've just lost all my work. Because guess what's not going to be compatible or back compatible or whatever, Call me old fashioned. I like the idea of me paying for software and you give me disk. They can protect that stuff. Don't tell me they can't. I've had the same two Photoshop 5.5 discs for about 7 or 8 years now. And every time I go to load them on another computer, I got to get on the phone with somebody from India because it won't just boot up, even if you have the key, the little 16-digit serial number or whatever. They can protect it. It's not about protection. It's just about making more money. They'd rather charge you $50 a month and hope that you don't realize that you're not actually buying software. You think you're buying software. You're renting software. And they control access to your own work. I mean, I know that if I do something, I do graphic design all the time. I do graphic design in, say, Photoshop 14 or whatever, and it's saved as a as a PSD or whatever. I mean, before you send it off to somebody when it's finished, yes, I know you convert it to, either a vector or to even a simple PNG or a bitmap or something. And that's going to be compatible everywhere. But you know what? I keep all that stuff editable because that same person comes back later and wants something else, or wants something in a different version, or even if it's not for business, even if it's like for one of my maps or something like that. All that stuff gets saved as editable assets. Well, what happens when Adobe closes the lights? Or Adobe just decides they don't like me anymore? Or Adobe gets taken over by flesh-eating zombies? Or who the hell knows what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years? Not only have I lost my license, I don't have access to get back into my own files. It's I hear video gamers complain about this a lot. They put a lot of money into and time into this game or that game. Am I too close to the lens here? Can you guys even see what I'm doing? I'm sorry, I'm on my anti-technocrat rant here. You can spend a lot of time, a lot of money getting good at a certain game or whatever, getting a bunch of unlockables, downloads or whatever, and then, even if it's just a multiplayer game, the community goes away, and the company decides to no longer support the servers. Yeah, preach on, Brother Jim. I'll stop. I know I'm being a grumpy old man. Damn kids, I remember when software was a disc. Or hell, do like NCH does. If you want to have it downloadable, have it be downloadable with a web key. I download it once, I can't download it again, and now I have it stuck on a thumb drive somewhere. You can encrypt it. You can have it where I can't make 100 copies of it and just give it to all my friends. That is ridiculously easy to do, even if the person owns the physical media. Hold on. What? Yeah, it's also not going to fit, Jen, I don't think. Alright, we're going to try this, guys. Does that look any better or worse? Yeah, the internet goes out. That's very true. Alright, guys, I don't know if this is making it better or worse. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get this tank in the exact middle of my stupid screen here, and I'm going to put a big X right there on my little paintboard, so I know right where to go, so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So what kind of hobby do you guys have going on? Do you guys like hobby? Here's a question: do you guys hobby during the week, or is that strictly a weekend thing? I'm assuming that you work like Monday to Friday, but whatever your work schedule is, do you guys work? Do you guys hobby when you get home from work, or I always mean to, but sometimes I'm just too tired and aggravated, and so everything kind of gets pushed back to the weekend, and my weekends are absolutely insane. My weekends can get so screwed up that by the time Monday comes around, it's like, thank God it's Monday. I go to work to relax. Case in point, last weekend we did 2 Dark Star games, so if you count the amount of time I spent getting the games ready, building the files and all that stuff, setting up the points, whatever, the fleets and ships, I did like 15 hours of Dark. Well, that might be an exaggeration. 10 in the morning to 1:30 in the morning. So that's 12 plus 1 is 13. Yeah, about 15 hours of Dark Star. More or less straight. I had I had 42 minutes for lunch between game 1 and game 2. And I just way overstepped on that. And he saved it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'm just doing like the big chunky block colors here. Because I'm like painting on like a work desk, not on like a hobby table. And I'm like all kind of cocked off to one side. Working in very bad light. All because I was really too lazy to move my computer before the stream. My usual hobby area is in the dining room where I have much better light. Monday and Friday at the local gaming store. Sweet. I am envious of you that you have a friendly local gaming store. We have lost ours actually quite some time ago. Which in the long run might be a good thing. Because if I didn't have gaming locally, I wouldn't have gone through the effort of gaming online with some of you guys. So again, I'm not sure if it's coming out here on the camera, but this actually isn't black. It's a pretty dark gray. And that actually is sort of intentional. Number one, tracks actually aren't black. They're not even close to black, actually. But I wanted to leave at least a little bit of darkness left for the wash that goes over these tracks later. If you make your tracks absolutely black and then you go to put a wash on them, you won't be able to see it. Your dry brush is going to come out really sweet, but your wash is going to be just lost. So I aim for a very, very dark, or not even very dark, a pretty dark gray. It's actually a lot less dark than it looks like here, because again, I'm painting in a cave, i.e. my office. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this army when it's done. I love Battlefront miniatures. I really do. I'm not just saying the political thing there. In fact, I'll prove it by saying I'm not a big fan of their game systems usually. They're fun. It all depends on who you're gaming with. That big desert war game that we had at the end of the Flames of War Desert version 4 boot camp is one of the most fun war games I've ever been in my life. I've been wargaming since 1985. Which is telling because the system on the table was by far and away not one of my favorites. I think gaming, whether a game is good or not, has a lot more to do with the people you're with than whatever system you're using. That said, I have been on the record, and I'll continue to be on the record. Version 4 is a vast improvement. Battlefront has, in their game rules and in some of their more recent Team Yankee updates, and in their new Fate of a Nation release, not the old Fate of a Nation, the new Fate of a Nation, um, really stepped it up. They've made a lot of correct choices. They fixed a lot of problems, I think. I know a lot of people aren't terribly big fans of version 4, especially old fans of version 3. They think they took too much of it out. I would argue that that's exactly what makes it good, because version 3 had way too much garbage in it. And version 4 by no means tried to, I don't think, reinvent the wheel. They just took a good hard look at what was working and what wasn't, and kept what was working and just literally took a chainsaw to everything else. So if you're a fan of version 3, I could see why you don't like version 4, but I totally understand where you're coming from, because a lot of what you're used to is missing. I just don't really agree. Personally, because I think a lot of what they took out of version 3 was bad. A lot of it, what was making version 3 of Flames of War not the best. They took a lot of it out. Absolutely the correct decision. A lot of the special rules that kind of made no sense. Some of these rules were literally just put in there to sell miniatures. Like, why is General Patton on a Flames of War table? Someone's really going to have to explain that to me. General Patton was a 3-star general through most of the war. He commanded a corps and later an army. You know how many corps are in an army? How many divisions are in a corps? How many regiments are in a division? How many battalions are in a regiment? How many companies are in a battalion? Do you know how many Flames of War armies Patton commanded on any given Sunday, especially in 44? A lot. Like 4 digits, a lot. And the idea of him standing there with a pair of binoculars, that's just one very, very small example. The removal of staff teams. Top-down pictures make counters for online gaming. Needs to raid the SITREP home offices. There you go. Yeah, I literally just bought a new laptop. The laptop's gonna have a better webcam. I just don't have that computer all set up yet. Also, the light isn't the best in here. And any kind of digital camera, I don't care how good your digital camera is, in bad light is going to get grainy. But I'm fine with that, because now you guys don't see how terrible my painting is. So they took staff teams out of version 4. Okay, might be that might be a good point. So how did staff teams work in version 3? Because you can have something like a staff team in Battle Group. That's a system I'm a little more familiar with. And all they really do is give you more order dice and give you better access to some of your off-board support packages. I won't get started talking too much about Battle Group because then it's going to turn into a 5-hour stream. Battle Group, Battle Group, Battle Group. My favorite miniature war game. Not my favorite war game, but my favorite miniature war game. Hands friggin' down. Because all the reasons. One of them is, kind of like, related to staff team. So that might be a valid point on the part of version 4 detractors in Flames of War. I keep hitting my camera with the back end of my brush here. So we've been streaming about an hour, guys. Again, I was just trying to sort of fill up a slot in the schedule here. I do apologize for missing the last 2 Sundays. We are online for HK Ops for this Sunday, so hopefully we won't be missing any more. Streams on Sunday. God knows that stream's going to be more than an hour. As I draw my tank. How long was that last session, guys? It was like 6 hours, 7 hours. It was just short of 6 hours on camera, and we were online about an hour before that, getting everyone's characters put together. We will be short 1 player, but I can deal with 1 player missing. We have a 5-person team. We have 5 players, and I'll do it if we're missing 1. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Role-playing games. There's always going to be someone who can't show up. It's when we had 2 missing players. That's literally almost half the group. And I was like, you know what, guys? Also, as Novus Templar, or because Science Teacher will probably attest, where we happen to be in our story is a bad time to be shorthanded. Things are about to get hot in a big way. So everyone will play their character, and I'll go ahead and play Jax just so that he doesn't disappear in the story. Because we're literally mid-stride in the middle of a deployment. I mean, if it was worried about, too many people don't show up, the people that play will get their asses kicked, whatever, I would just remove some of the bad guys. I mean, I'm not worried about that. But this is a primarily story-focused game, and it gets weird when characters just literally blink out of existence and then blink back into existence. I was, where were you during that last firefight? I was having a smoke. Or, I was out in the bushes taking a piss or something. It strains the, what's the word I'm looking for here? It strains the story. It strains the structure of the story, the believability of the story. You know what I got to figure out that I do? How to stream off my phone. Because my phone's got a pretty kick-ass camera in it. Ever since I bought this new iPhone 10, I haven't used my regular digital camera for anything. My stupid iPhone camera is better. I haven't done much with it in video. How many of these things are left? One, two, three. I was gonna say I haven't painted. Oh my god, have I really? I painted seven of these things. 7 of these things already. Yeah, 6 hours or so. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it was like 5:45 on the stream, but on the recorded stream on YouTube. But again, we were online for a while before that. I honestly do not expect Saturday's session. Or, I'm sorry, Sunday's session coming up to be that long. It will be probably more intense. We literally just have one huge gun battle. Assuming there are no plot twists in effect. Dun dun dun. You guys should know that, man. If you can ever finish a story in one sitting, do it. Because if you say, oh, we'll finish this up next week or in 2 weeks, all you're doing is giving the storyteller more time to come up with crazy shit. That's not the laptop, it was the other laptop. You know, the one in the trunk of that car that just drove away? Or that plane that just took off? Where did that helicopter come from? Why is the CIA here and why are they shooting at us? Damn it, why did we give Jim another 2 weeks to come up with story elements? We should never ever do that. It has been, I'm not going to lie, a frustrating couple of weeks in terms of hobby and community. The last thing we want to do is give Jim 2 more weeks to take out those frustrations on us, the players of HK Ops. Am I still on camera here, guys? I'm sorry. So Sunday, I'm gonna have to do my best not to get Brun's character killed. But if it happens, hey, say la vie. The flip side of that being, okay, Brun, because of real life, I understand real life's cool and all, but because of real life, you were unable to join our session. Nevertheless, you still got XP because your character was at risk and your character was doing stuff. So yes, your character can get XP while you're not even at the table. Good news. Bad news, your character can get hurt or killed. And in HK Ops, you can get hurt or killed really fast. The guys who are playing will tell you, or Jen will tell you, this is a cinematic realism or whatever. I mean, it's not like brutally realistic, but it's pretty realistic as far as the lethality of an actual firefight goes. Let's just say there are no health packs. This is not a cover-based shooter. You can't just crouch behind the wall and wait for your little green health bar to come back up. There are no resurrection spells. You get shot in the head and you are dead. So far we've had 2 people hit. I think Templar, you took a hit, didn't you? Although it turned out to be not that big a deal. Skoback says, I thought the DM was supposed to try and kill the players. Dude, in HK Ops, if I wanted the characters dead, they'd be dead. I've been playing role playing. I've been running role playing games. Well, I would say from like the 1980s, but I took like a 10-year break. So it's like 25, 30 years, but with a gigantic break in the middle of that. And but for many years, let's just say that. And the only time I ever came close to a total party kill, you guys are gonna think I'm making this up because of a movie that came out someone recently. But I swear to God, this happened on my table. It was 1992. I was still in the Marine Corps. We were playing the old D6 West End Games version of Star Wars, the role-playing game. And the players were at some kind of like a Bespin, Jovian, like Cloud City kind of a place or whatever. They were. I can't remember what the particulars of the story were. It was a big party. It was like 6 or 7 players. Relatively high level too. Like not like heroes of Yavin, but not beginners either. They were up there. They were like second tier badasses or whatever, baby badasses. And they were just getting cocky. And I didn't want to get them in this battle. I was just trying to move the story along. I was like, okay, you guys have been on this little planet or whatever. You're done. It's time to go on to the next part of the story. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. Imperial troops show up. They don't want to leave. Imperial Star Destroyer shows up. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. We're there for like 2 hours of table time with me just trying to get the goddamn party going again. And they just keep, I want to sit here and just fight stormtroopers all day. I'm like, guys, this is boring. And we have like an actual story to get to. What the hell? I said, fine. That Star Destroyer, that's in orbit. It just dropped a Tidarium class shuttle. It's coming down to the base. There was a beginning Jedi in the group. Suddenly you get a very, very, very bad feeling about this. No, I'm not just cheesily quoting the movie. You get a seriously bad feeling about this. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. Okay, elite stormtroopers show up. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. Okay, the Jedi is about to start vomiting because she has a very, very, she's getting some very, very nasty premonitions about what's coming down on that shuttle. I mean, I gave him every hint I could. Sure enough, fine, here comes, you know who I'm talking about. He, just like in Rogue One, we did Rogue One 20 years before Rogue One came out. The characters are in a hallway. They weren't on board a Rebel cruiser. They were in like a Bespin Cloud City kind of a thing. And here comes Vader, and I'm like, there's no one coming from the other side of the corridor. You guys can run. They're like, no, man, we're gonna fight Vader. I'm like, you guys don't want to fight Vader. I held up the book. I'm like, here are his stats. They are published right here. I'm not trying to kill you guys. But I swear to God, if you guys don't leave, like I've been asking you to do for 2 hours, I'm going to use these stats as published against you guys. We can take them on. I'm not going to add anything to these stats, but I'm not going to take anything away either. You guys seriously want to fight, Darth Vader right here. No, yeah, here we go. This is like Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader. And they stood there. And, they pretty much all died. He never lit his lightsaber. He literally held out his hand and deflected their own blaster bolts back at him. And in Star Wars, it's really tough to actually die, but you can get like incapacitated, and then if somebody in the group can get you back to a back to tank, we can make up a story reason how you somehow survive or whatever. But for tactical purposes, it was a total party kill. And I used the rules right out of the book, and he never ignited his lightsaber. He stood there with his hand extended and killed them with their own blaster fire. I wasn't being cheesy. I wasn't trying to kill the party. It was, oh, you guys want to do this? I gave you like literally 100 chances to get the hell out of here. Okay, we're going to do this. Here's the book, so you guys don't think I'm being, an asshole. Other than that, it is damn hard to get killed in one of my games. It is damn near impossible. I will punish the hell out of players. I'll take away your weapons. I'll blow off your limbs. I'll kill your family. I'll kill your dog. I'll take all your toys. I'll give you mental diseases, mental illnesses. We have that sanity, conscious, and humanity check. Don't think that's not going to be a leash. And it's not, again, to be an asshole as far as the storyteller goes. It's quite the opposite. It's so that I can control and punish the players. Punish is the wrong word. It's so that the players can feel an honest to goodness and above board and real life sense of urgency and tension and threat without me just slaughtering players or slaughtering characters. Because, spoilers, it's going to be pretty tough for me to kill you unless you walk in front of a machine gun and then the dice just go against you or whatever. Yeah, you can definitely get killed doing that. But I'm never going to try and kill players or whatever. But if the players want to do something that entails a lot of risk and they're not careful about how they do it, there are plenty of other things I can do. Otherwise, you run the risk of A, having an asshole DM who just, total party kills all over the place, or B, a pushover game master and you're literally just going through the motions. There's never any tension, there's never any threat. You never feel like you're in any danger. Everything's going to die in front of you. You're just going to walk through enemies. You have to find a way to strike a balance. So you'll have things like, oh, well, I survived that gun battle down in Mexico or whatever, but I lost my arm doing it. And then I got back to America, and my wife kind of decided she couldn't be with, she tried. She tried for like a year, but she just can't be with, somebody with special needs or whatever. Now you lost your family. Now you lost your kids. Yeah, I'll do that. We're going for a certain degree of realism. I mean, look, the wound chart on the character sheets will have you in a hospital bed for 6 to 8 months. I mean, the math has worked out where it'll do that. If you take a really bad hit. Because we're going for a degree, not a complete sense of realism, but a degree of realism. We want it to at least feel a little, vicariously, obviously, dangerous. Oof, I just screwed that up. Damn. I got a big old black smudge of paint on my underside of my glasses there. Can he save it, ladies and gentlemen? That's another reason I like working with cheap acrylics. If you're fast enough, you can just wipe it off. And it usually comes off pretty good. If you catch it in time. Alright guys, I'm just looking at all these T-55s here, or T-54s. Did the Jedi player actually reach Vader? No. To my knowledge. She did not. And again, these weren't like, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker level characters. But they weren't beginning characters either. Like solid, like 5th or 6th or 7th level, like D&D characters. They weren't beginners, that's for sure. And there were about 6 of them, 6 or 7. And it all started just as me trying to hurry the players to the next scene of the story. And then once they saw Vader, they saw it as their shot. And they're like, oh, here we go, man. We're headed to the big times. I'm like, no, you're not, dude. You're completely misinterpreting this situation. My eyes are going bad on me. I don't know how many of these are coming out on camera here. And that's all of the tracks, except for my shulkers. I'll do my shulkers later. That is all of the tracks of these T54s, at least block painted. I'm going to go in there with this much smaller brush. I can't even read the numbers on this thing. Yeah, triple out brush. I have a triple out brush here. I'm going to go in here a little bit later and actually like pick the tracks like between all these wheels, get the top part of the track without getting it all over the running plates. Not running plates, the running guards. Then I'm going to go back over there with a little bit of a dry brush. Not really a dry brush, kind of like almost a dry brush. A wet dry brush, if that makes any sense. And start putting some mud, especially on these side skirts. Alrighty, so let me move this off to one side before it spills everywhere. Alright, guys. It is way too much light. Now I have too little light. Now I've had my big jewelry glasses on. I can't even read the chat here. Are there any infantry in these forces? Okay, I do have a box of Marine infantry that I just haven't built yet, and I have a from PSC. I have a platoon of I think 48 Soviet 1980s infantry that I'm going to use as Iraqis. I'm just going to paint them differently. They are on the way. I have the Marine infantry in the box already. I just don't have it put together yet. One thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to base them on the battlefront. On the battlefront bases, because I usually don't use a battlefront system. So I usually just keep them individually. It's a little bit more work that way. In fact, it's a lot more work that way. But this way, it's a little bit more system agnostic as far as actually using them on the tabletop. If I ever use them on the tabletop, who knows? This is just an army I've always wanted to build. But tedious, hold on. Tedious tasks are always easier when done with friends. That is true. I got through those 9 tanks, at least on the block painting on the tracks. I got a good bit of the detail work done too, and I didn't even realize it. At the end of it, I was like, okay, I think I've got like half of them done, and then I got like 7 out of 9 done. So there's actually truth in that. That's absolutely true, Nova Templar. Absolutely true. All right, guys, I am losing my voice. And we've been streaming for about an hour and a half, and the battery on my phone is about to die. So, again, I hope that you enjoyed this very impromptu. I'm going to try to get a better camera. There's a better camera in my other laptop. Very impromptu. I set up the stream in like 5 minutes. Stream here for the SITREP podcast. Try to do some modern warfare painting. Again, not really heavy into painting and not heavy into streaming. So painting while streaming is definitely an adventure. Hope you guys didn't find it too terrible. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take off. You're hoping to start your 124 Russian soldiers next week. Good grief. What scale is that in, Skoback? I think you told us. Was that 1 to 20? Or not 1 to 28. Was that 28 mil? 124 Russians in 28 mil. You're going to be at that for a month. Holy crap. I can't even imagine that. The biggest army like that I ever did was American Revolution. It's actually 4 armies, but it's all kind of like stuck together into a big American Revolution force. Patriots, Hessians, Native Americans, and of course British. Jeez, yeah, that thing was. Hold on, let me get some better light here. That was, that might be a little bit better. That took like a summer. 4 months. 3 or 4 months, 400 miniatures. That's true. That's true, because science teacher did all the, did most of the cavalry on that. She did do all the basing. True story. Because science teacher based like 400 American Revolution infantry and cavalry. She just sat there in front of what were you watching? Like one of your cooking shows? Just sat there in front of her absurd cooking shows with like this little bowl of mix I made for her. It was like some green flock, some little bits of cat litter, some like little, little bits, just stuff for basing or whatever. Got the little old scrap brush with the Elmer's glue, dunked it in there, tamped it down, go on to the next one. She got 400 of those things done in like a week or two. It was great. She didn't paint the equipment on the horses, but she's a girl. She wanted to play with the horses. She painted the horses. She did a great job. Of course, by the end of the session, she had like, each of them had like names, and of course they all had to be different, and they all had to have like different markings, and this one's got a stripe, and this one's got some spots, and this one's, then I just came like threw them all in my British Cavalry force, and now they're the bad guys. I'm going to spend more money on getting support weapons. There you go. Russian cavalry for World War II. Yeah, they saw. You did. Oh, you did some attack. Okay, John. I'm sorry. Oh, you were watching Psych. Oh God. Yeah, cavalry is tough. Cavalry is tougher than people think. People just pick up a horse and they go at it with a brown brush. And it's like, no, it's not like that at all. There's a little bit more to it than that. Ask any Napoleonics player, they'll tell you. Napoleonics or American Civil War. Alright guys, so again, I'm going to go ahead and sign off the stream. Thanks very much again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. We are going to be on for... There's at least a little bit of Dark Star going on Saturday. That's not really SITREP related, but we do have a little bit of Dark Star. It won't be broadcast. But if anyone wants to jump in, if you're not on that email thread, let me know. I'll put you on the email thread. Damon's going to try out some of his Republic of India forces. Against, I don't know who, maybe some Russians. That's going to be with 3rd Hercules War. That's out in space, obviously. But then, more relevant to SITREP, we are going to be doing HK Ops on Sunday, 2 p.m. East Time, 7 p.m. UK time. And last session was really getting the group together, getting the group set up, getting the mission started, introducing everybody to the plots of the story. Not just the plots within the mission, but the plots that are going to be going forward, like what's going on with the company and who the company's competitors are and what's our relationship with the DEA. Later on, I'll introduce the NSA and the CIA and everybody else, depending on what kind of stories the players are interested in. They like more law enforcement, DEA kind of missions, or if they want more tactical military missions, then we'll send more to the Middle East somewhere. Who knows? That's whatever the group's up to. That's kind of why we picked PMCs. Private military contractors, to give the players a lot more latitude in the kind of characters that they can create and the kind of games they want to play, stories they want to tell. So, oh man, sorry guys, I'm having a tough time reading the chat here on my little phone. Did the dust flip over there now? Daylight savings time, yes. Oh God, yeah. And it did for the UK like a week or 2 weeks before it did for us. So for a while, the UK was only 4 hours ahead of us. Now we're back to our usual 5-hour difference. Post modern. Yeah, that's Dark Star. It's uber modern. It's modern plus 500 years. Okay, guys. Hope you liked me fumble through. Hope you liked watching me fumble through a stream, almost as much as I fumbled through that sentence. I'm going to go ahead and log off. I'll be in touch. Check us out this weekend for some HK Ops action, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Take care, everybody.
Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain.